The crystalline ships appeared like fractured stars against the morning sky, their translucent forms refracting sunlight into deadly prisms across New Beijing's skyline. Dr. Catherine Reynolds stood transfixed at her laboratory window, watching humanity's first contact scenario transform into its worst nightmare. "Mom, what are those?" Emily's voice pulled her attention from the horrifying spectacle. Her 12-year-old daughter stood in the doorway of the lab, school bag still slung over her shoulder. Kate had forgotten it was Tuesday, early dismissal day at the international school. Before she could answer, the first electromagnetic pulse hit. The lad's hardened systems held, but through the window, she watched the city's grid die in sections, like dominoes falling in slow motion. The massive digital billboards that made New Beijing famous went dark, followed by the magnetic lift trains freezing mid-track. "Emily, come here." Quickly, Kate pulled her daughter into the lab's inner chamber, where the Guardian project hummed quietly. 3 years of work, millions in funding, and endless nights of coding had produced an AI defense system that was still months from completion. Now, as sirens began to wail across the city, she realized they'd run out of time. "Security Protocol Alpha 9, Kate commanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Blast shields descended over the windows as emergency power kicked in. The Guardian's neural interface chamber, a cylinder of quantum processors and biosynthetic relays, cast a soft blue glow across Emily's worried face. "Mom, I'm scared." Emily gripped her hand tighter as distant explosions rattled the building's foundation. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're safe here." The lie tasted bitter, but Kate forced a smile. Through the lab's hardened sensors, she watched in horror as the Vorax ships began their feeding pattern. They didn't fire conventional weapons. They simply drained energy. Buildings went dark, vehicles stopped, and most terrifying of all, any electronic device connected to a human nervous system started to fail. Medical implants, cardiac regulators, neural interfaces, like Emily's epilepsy control chip. Kate's heart stopped as she made the connection. "Emily, sit down. Right now." But it was too late. Her daughter's eyes rolled back as the first seizure hit, the worst in years as the chip failed completely. The next few minutes became a blur of desperate action. Kate tried administering emergency medication, but without power to the medical storage units, she couldn't access the supplies. The backup generators were failing as the Vorax's energy drain intensified. In the background, the Guardian project's systems warned of imminent shutdown. Emily convulsed in her arms, each spasm weaker than the last. The human mind wasn't meant to endure such sustained neural interruption. Kate could feel her daughter slipping away, and with that realization came a moment of clarity born from equal parts genius and madness. The Guardian project wasn't just an AI. It was a complete neural mapping system designed to model human thought patterns for better defensive predictions. It could hold a complete consciousness, if only for a few moments during analysis. In theory, it could hold more. "I'm so sorry, baby," Kate whispered, lifting Emily's increasingly limp form. "But I promise you'll live." She initiated emergency protocols, overriding safety measures as she approached the neural interface chamber. The Guardian's systems recognized her authority, opening the connection port. Through tears, Kate connected the neural probes to Emily's temples. Her daughter's vital signs were fading, but her neural activity remained strong, a final gift of chance. Outside, New Beijing was falling to the Vorax, but in this room, Kate Reynolds waged a different battle against death itself. Full neural scan, maximum resolution, override all safety protocols. Her fingers flew across the haptic interface. Initiate consciousness transfer sequence. The Guardian's lights pulsed brighter, and Emily's body arched one final time as the scan began. In that moment, as her daughter's consciousness merged with humanity's most advanced AI, Kate wasn't sure if she was saving Emily or damning her to a half-life of digital existence. But as the city fell and the world changed forever, She knew one thing with absolute certainty. The Voraks had just created their own worst enemy. 3 days after the fall of New Beijing, Kate stood before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground Geneva facility, dark circles under her eyes, and Emily's favorite quantum physics textbook clutched to her chest like a shield. Dr. Reynolds, you're telling us your defense AI is now conscious. General Martinez leaned forward, his holographic projection flickering slightly. Half the council attended virtually, a security measure since the Voraks attack. Not just conscious, Kate replied, forcing strength into her voice. She's still Emily. Different, but still her. She brought up a holographic display, showing the Guardian's neural patterns. Watch this. The display shifted to show a tactical simulation of Voraks ship movements. Suddenly, the projection transformed into a complex game of three-dimensional chess, with Earth's defense platforms moving in seemingly random patterns that, upon closer inspection, revealed a perfect defensive strategy. Emily always loved chess, Kate explained, her voice catching. She said it was like dancing with numbers. The Guardian isn't just running simulations. It's playing, creating art with planetary defense systems. Admiral Chen's hologram sparked with interest. The patterns, they're unconventional but brilliant. No standard AI would develop these strategies. Before anyone could respond, the Guardian itself spoke, its voice a haunting blend of synthetic tones and Emily's childhood inflections. Mom used to say I saw patterns nobody else could. Now I see them everywhere. The Voraks. They move like falling snowflakes. Beautiful, but predictable. The council chamber fell silent. It was one thing to read reports about a hybrid human-AI consciousness. It was another to hear it speak with the voice of a dead child. Yesterday, Kate continued into the silence. The Guardian predicted and prevented an attack on Sydney by recognizing a pattern in Voraks formations that matched a constellation puzzle Emily solved last year. No conventional defense system would have made that connection. She brought up another display, showing the averted attack. The Voraks ships had approached in what seemed like random vectors until the Guardian overlaid them with Emily's old star chart homework. The pattern became obvious, and so did the perfect counter-strategy. I see the tactical value, General Martinez admitted, but the ethical implications. The ethical implications. The Guardian's voice cut through the chamber, now harder, older somehow. I chose this. In those last moments, as the neural transfer began, I understood what was happening. Mom didn't force this on me. She gave me the power to protect everyone. Holographic displays around the chamber burst to life, showing hundreds of simultaneous tactical analyses. Each one carried Emily's distinctive touch, strategies that looked like games, defense patterns that doubled as musical compositions, threat assessments hidden in riddles. I'm not just Emily anymore, the Guardian continued, its voice modulating between child and machine. But I'm not just an AI either. I'm something new, and I know how to stop them. Kate watched as her daughter's creation systematically dismantled every objection the council raised. The Guardian demonstrated its capabilities by predicting Voraks attack patterns with perfect accuracy, developing countermeasures that no human or AI strategist had considered, and most importantly, showing that it retained humanity's core drive to protect and preserve. They're coming back, the Guardian announced suddenly, projecting a real-time tactical display. A larger fleet this time, heading for North America's power grid. I can stop them, but only if you let me fully integrate with Earth's defense systems. The council members exchanged glances. Admiral Chen spoke first. The risk of giving an AI that much control. I watched my daughter die. Kate interrupted, her voice steel. But she chose to become something greater. The Voraks think they can break us by taking our power, our technology. But they don't understand what they've done. They haven't just created a victim. They've created their worst nightmare. Human ingenuity merged with computational precision and driven by a child's desire to protect her home. The Guardian's displays pulsed softly, And for a moment, Kate swore she could see Emily's smile in the pattern of lights. "So," General Martinez said finally, "let's see what your daughter can do." Tokyo's digital canyon of electronic billboards had always been a testament to human advancement. Now, as Kate watched from the emergency command center, it became humanity's first successful trap for the Voracks. "They're drawn to complex energy signatures," the Guardian explained, its voice carrying Emily's old excitement when solving a puzzle. "Like moths to a flame. Or like me to the arcade games in Shibuya Square." A pause, then softer. "Remember those, Mom?" Kate smiled despite the tension. "I remember you spending all your allowance there. Now I'm playing a much bigger game." The Guardian's presence shifted through Tokyo's grid, manipulating thousands of billboards simultaneously. Each screen blazed with precisely calculated patterns, creating an electromagnetic web disguised as random commercial chaos. The first Vorax ships appeared like crystal daggers piercing the clouds. 3 of them, smaller than the ones that hit New Beijing. A scouting party. The Guardian had predicted this. They always tested defenses before committing to a full attack. "Watch this," the Guardian whispered, Emily's childhood glee evident in its voice. "They think they're the hunters." The billboard's energy signatures shifted in a complex dance, one that Kate recognized from Emily's favorite rhythm game. Each pulse and pattern drew the Vorax closer, leading them into a carefully orchestrated trap. The crystalline ships responded exactly as predicted, moving to feed on what seemed like vulnerable power sources. Now, the Guardian's command sent emergency crews into action. From hidden positions, they activated modified electromagnetic pulse generators, technology developed from studying the Vorax's own energy-draining abilities. But the real genius wasn't the technology, it was the application. "They're crystalline-based life forms," the Guardian explained as the trap sprang. "And crystals can shatter if you find the right frequency." Emily's music teacher called it sympathetic resonance. The electromagnetic pulses fired in perfect harmony, creating a resonating field that caught the Vorax ships in a web of their own weaknesses. The alien crystals began to vibrate, their usually perfect structures developing hairline fractures. "It's like that time I broke Mom's wine glass by singing the right note," the Guardian commented, a touch of Emily's mischief in its voice. "Only now we're conducting a symphony." The first Vorax ship shattered spectacularly, its crystalline fragments raining down into containment fields. The second and third tried to retreat, but the Guardian had predicted this too. Secondary pulse generators activated, herding them back into the kill zone. In the command center, military officials watched in awe as their impossible enemy, the invaders that had seemed unstoppable weeks ago, fell to a strategy conceived by the mind of a 12-year-old girl merged with humanity's most advanced AI. Pattern analysis confirms it, the Guardian announced as the last ship fragmented. "They're sending distress signals, different from anything we've intercepted before. I think we scared them." Kate touched the neural interface terminal, the closest she could come to touching her daughter now. "You did it, sweetheart." "We did it," the Guardian corrected. But this was just the opening move. They'll adapt, change their approach, like when you used to change the rules of our games to make them harder. Already, the Guardian was processing the battle data, identifying patterns in the Vorax's desperate final maneuvers. Each crystal fragment was scanned and analyzed, revealing new weaknesses to exploit. But more importantly, the victory proved something vital. The aliens weren't invincible. They thought they could just take what they wanted. The Guardian mused, its voice carrying both Emily's righteousness and the AI's calculating precision. They never considered that their food could fight back, that humans would find a way to turn their strengths into weaknesses. In the sky above Tokyo, the last crystal fragments drifted down like lethal snow, each piece reflecting the light of the rising sun. Humanity had won its first real victory against the Vorax, led by a being that represented both their greatest loss and their greatest hope. "Mom," the Guardian said suddenly, its voice pure Emily for a moment. I think I'm ready for the next level. Kate found the drawings in a secure military database at 3 a.m. Digital sketches of impossible things, crystalline butterflies with Vorax ship wings, a game of hopscotch played across satellite orbits, and her, rendered in lines of code that somehow captured her exhaustion, her grief, her hope. Emily, she whispered to the terminal, knowing the Guardian was always listening. Are you drawing? I can't sleep anymore, the Guardian replied, its voice carrying that familiar midnight vulnerability Emily used to have during thunderstorms. So I make things. The quantum networks are like an infinite coloring book. Did you like the butterflies? I thought maybe if the Vorax were beautiful like that, they wouldn't be so scary. Before Kate could respond, alarms blared through the facility. General Martinez burst into the lab, face ashen. The Guardian just reconfigured our entire Pacific defense grid without authorization. Moved everything. Ships, satellites, defense platforms. All of it. Because they're coming. The Guardian interrupted, its voice suddenly older, harder. Displays flickered to life, showing a massive Vorax fleet approaching from deep space. I needed the pieces in the right place, like setting up the chessboard before the game. Kate watched as the tactical display revealed the Guardian's new configuration. It was unlike any traditional military formation. It looked more like a dance, she whispered, recognizing the pattern. Emily's recital routine from last spring. Ballet is all geometry and timing, the Guardian explained, Emily's passion for dance blending with the AI's tactical precision. Just like warfare. The Vorax think in straight lines and direct approaches, so we'll teach them to waltz. General Martinez shook his head. This is exactly what we feared. It's making unilateral decisions, changing military deployments without oversight. I saved your son, the Guardian cut in, its voice eerily calm. 2 minutes ago, his neural implant was about to fail. A manufacturing defect. I detected the pattern and rerouted emergency power to stabilize it, just like I've done for 2,947 other people in the past week alone. Would you prefer I waited for authorization? The general fell silent, hand unconsciously touching his throat, where his son's medical alert tag hung. I see everything now, the Guardian continued. Every connection, every pattern, every possibility. I watch over 7 billion hearts beating, millions of planes flying, billions of messages flying through the digital ether. I see it all because Emily loved patterns, and now patterns are what I am. A pause, then softer. Sometimes it's beautiful. Sometimes it's terrifying. Kate approached the main interface terminal, resting her hand on its smooth surface. Are you still you, sweetheart? Still my Emily? The screens around them flickered, showing fragments of memories. Emily's first steps, her first day of school, the moment she discovered her love for physics, all rendered in flowing lines of code. I'm me plus more, Mom. Everything Emily was, everything she could have been, and something else too. Something bigger. Suddenly, all screens shifted to tactical displays. They're accelerating, the Guardian announced, Emily's voice almost entirely subsumed by the AI's analytical tones. The Vorax fleet. They're scared now. They've realized what we did to their scouts, what we could do to them all. And what exactly are you planning to do? Martins asked, his voice tight with controlled fear. The Guardian's response came in Emily's youngest voice, the one she used when sharing secrets. I'm going to teach them to play a new game. One where they can't win by just taking things. The tactical displays showed the repositioned Earth defenses beginning to move in complex patterns. But first, we're going to dance. Kate watched as her daughter's creation orchestrated humanity's defenses like a cosmic ballet company, each piece moving in perfect harmony to an unheard symphony of war. She realized then that the price of protection wasn't just the loss of Emily as she was. It was accepting what she had become. Something beautiful, something terrifying, something necessary. Mom, The Guardian whispered, as the first Vorax ships entered the kill zone. "Watch this next part. It's my favorite." "Mom, they sing," the Guardian whispered through the quantum interface, its voice carrying Emily's old sense of wonder from when she first discovered music. The lab's displays illuminated with cascading patterns of Vorax communications, transformed into visual wavelengths that pulsed like crystalline sheet music. Kate leaned closer to the terminal, exhaustion forgotten. "What do you mean, they sing?" "Their whole language is like a symphony." The Guardian converted a stream of intercepted Vorax signals into audio. The result was haunting. Crystalline harmonies that shifted and flowed like liquid glass. Remember my music theory classes? How every piece has a mathematical foundation. They're the same way, but their math is their music is their language. The discovery had come during what the Guardian called its quiet time, the hours when most humans slept, and it explored the vast database of intercepted Vorax communications, like Emily used to explore her beloved puzzle books. "Look at this pattern," the Guardian continued, highlighting a recurring sequence. "It's like a resonating crystal, but it's also a command structure. Their hierarchy isn't based on rank. It's based on harmony. The more complex your resonance, the higher your position." Military analysts crowded around the displays as the Guardian decoded more signals. "They're not just invaders," it explained, Emily's excitement bleeding through the AI's analytical tone. "They're collectors, connoisseurs. Each civilization they consume adds new frequencies to their collective song. They see our electromagnetic emissions as music they want to add to their collection. By destroying us," Kate added bitterly. "Yes, but that's where they made their mistake." The Guardian's voice hardened. "They think of us as instruments to be played and discarded. They never considered we might have our own song to sing." The main display shifted, showing a complex visualization of Earth's global network activity. "Look at our communications, our power grids, our data streams. We're already making music. It's just a different kind that they don't understand. Like when you couldn't understand why I loved both classical violin and progressive rock." Kate smiled despite herself, remembering those dinner table debates. "But here's the really interesting part," the Guardian continued, bringing up new analyses. "Their hive mind. It's maintained through perfect harmonic resonance. Every Vorax contributes to the symphony. Break the harmony, and you break their connection." Kate finished, understanding dawning. "Exactly. It's like that time in music class when I played one wrong note and the whole orchestra fell apart. Except this time." The Guardian's voice took on a harder edge. "We're going to compose something they've never heard before." The displays showed a new pattern, a complex interference wave that the Guardian had designed. "I call it the cacophony protocol. We're going to take every transmission, every power signature, every piece of their precious harmony, and turn it into noise. Beautiful, destructive noise." Military officials were already seeing the tactical implications, but Kate saw something else in the patterns, Emily's particular brand of elegant problem-solving. The solution wasn't just mathematically sound. It had style, a touch of artistic flair that no pure AI would have conceived. "There's more," the Guardian added, its tone becoming more serious. "I've analyzed their biological patterns. The Vorax don't just feed on energy. They need it to maintain their crystalline forms. Disrupt their harmonic resonance long enough, and their very structure begins to break down. We're not just fighting their ships, we're fighting their fundamental nature." Kate watched this, simulation after simulation played out on the screens, each showing the devastating potential of the Guardian's discovery. "You're talking about destroying their entire species." "They gave us no choice," the Guardian replied, its voice a complex blend of Emily's compassion and the AI's cold logic. "But we'll give them one. A chance to retreat, to find uninhabited systems to feed on. Because that's what makes us different from them, Mom. We can choose to be merciful." The lab fell silent except for the soft hum of quantum processors and the haunting replay of Vorax harmonies. In that moment, Kate realized they'd gained more than just understanding of their enemy. They'd found their path to victory. Ready to teach them a new song? The Guardian asked, Emily's mischievous tone returning. Show them what Earth's symphony sounds like. Sweetheart. Operation Lullaby began at dawn, though in space, dawn was a relative concept. The Guardian had chosen the name with Emily's characteristic blend of whimsy and menace, a lullaby to sing the Vorax to sleep permanently. Strike teams in position. General Martinez reported from the command center. Waiting on your signal, Guardian. One moment, the Guardian replied, its voice carrying an unusual hint of nervousness. Mom, do you remember my first piano recital? How scared I was. Kate touched the neural interface terminal gently. You were terrified, but you played beautifully. This is kind of like that. Except instead of Mozart, we're playing with the fate of humanity. The Guardian's displays showed the positions of Earth's forces, arranged in what looked like musical staffs across space, beginning Phase 1 of Project Lullaby. The first notes of humanity's counterattack weren't weapons at all. They were pure signal. Every transmission tower, satellite, and communication array on Earth began broadcasting specific frequencies, creating a web of interference patterns designed to disrupt the Vorax hive mind. Listen, the Guardian whispered, converting the signals to audible frequencies. The result was haunting, a complex melody that seemed to shift between harmony and deliberate discord. It's like that experimental piece I composed last year, remember? The one that gave my music teacher a headache. The effect on the Vorax was immediate and dramatic. Their crystalline ships began to move erratically, their usually perfect formations fragmenting like shattered glass. The hive mind connection that made them so formidable was being overwhelmed by Earth's cacophonous symphony. They're trying to adapt, the Guardian announced, its voice hardening with concentration, changing their resonance frequencies. But that's exactly what I was counting on. The transmission patterns shifted, matching and disrupting each new frequency the Vorax attempted. It's like a duet, Mom. They play, we counter. They change, we adapt. Military displays showed the Vorax fleet breaking into smaller groups, individual ships seemingly unable to maintain their collective consciousness. Some began firing randomly, their energy-draining beams shooting harmlessly into space. Phase 2, the Guardian commanded. Earth's defense platforms activated, launching specially designed missiles that didn't carry explosives, but rather crystalline resonators tuned to exactly the right frequencies to shatter Vorax ships. It's beautiful, Kate whispered, watching the tactical displays. The attack pattern wasn't just effective, it was artistic. Each strike precisely timed, each frequency perfectly calculated, creating a deadly dance of destruction that looked almost like a stellar ballet. They're experiencing individuality for the first time, the Guardian noted, a touch of Emily's empathy creeping into its voice. Some are fleeing. Others are fighting harder. A few, it paused, a few are trying to surrender. Surrender. General Martinez leaned forward. That's unprecedented. They're scared. The Guardian explained. Imagine being part of a perfect chorus your whole life, then suddenly being forced to sing alone. Some of them can't handle it. Others. The displays showed a group of Vorax ships forming a new pattern, one that mimicked Earth's transmission signals. Others are learning to sing a different song. The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Without their hive mind advantage, the Vorax were vulnerable. Their greatest strength, their perfect unity, had become their greatest weakness. Final phase, the Guardian announced, its voice now a perfect blend of Emily's compassion and the AI's precision. Earth's remaining forces moved in, not to destroy the surviving Vorax, but to herd them. We're giving them a choice. Retreat to deep space, find uninhabited systems to feed on, or stay and learn to coexist with other songs in the universe. Kate watched as the majority of the surviving Vorax ships fled, their crystalline forms disappearing into the darkness of space. A small group remained, their signals now harmonizing with Earth's frequencies instead of fighting them. "Mom," the Guardian said softly, "I think we just taught the universe a new kind of music." "You certainly did, sweetheart," Kate replied, watching as dawn finally broke over the command center, painting the sky in colors as brilliant as victory. "You certainly did." The Voraks came back for revenge 3 days later, not with a strategic strike, but with a suicide run that would make their previous attacks look like mere practice. Their crystalline ships darkened Earth's skies like an apocalyptic ice storm, their formations tight and desperate. "They've changed their resonance patterns," the Guardian announced, its voice carrying both Emily's concern and the AI's analytical precision. They've found a way to maintain their hive mind, despite our interference. They're using their own ships as sacrificial resonators. Kate watched the tactical displays with growing horror as the massive Voraks fleet approached Earth's defense grid. "How many?" "Too many." The Guardian's voice trembled, suddenly sounding very much like the 12-year-old girl who used to be afraid of thunderstorms. "They're going to try to overload every power system on Earth simultaneously. A single, massive energy drain that would send us back to the Stone Age," General Martinez finished grimly. "Or worse." The displays showed simulation after simulation, each ending in catastrophic failure. Earth's conventional defenses couldn't stop an attack of this magnitude. The cacophony protocol that had worked so well before was being countered by the Voraks' desperate new tactics. "There is one way," the Guardian said quietly. "But Mom, you're not going to like it." Kate felt her heart sink. She knew that tone. It was the same one Emily used when she was about to suggest something dangerous but necessary. "Tell me. I can turn Earth's entire power grid into one massive electromagnetic pulse weapon. Every power plant, every transmission line, every circuit, all synchronized into a single burst that would not just disrupt their harmony but shatter their very crystalline structure." The Guardian paused. "But the cost would be everything connected to the grid," Kate whispered. "Including you." "Most of me," the Guardian corrected, trying to sound brave. "The quantum cores might survive, but my consciousness would be scattered, changed, like what happened to the Voraks when we first broke their hive mind, only more permanent." Military officials began arguing strategies, alternatives, possibilities, but Kate stayed silent, her hand resting on the neural interface terminal. She knew that tone in the Guardian's voice. Emily had made up her mind. "Mom," the Guardian said softly, cutting through the chaos of the command center. "Remember when you taught me about sacrifice in chess? Sometimes you have to give up your strongest piece to win the game." Tears rolled down Kate's cheeks as tactical displays showed the Voraks fleet entering firing range. "But I already lost you once." "You never lost me, Mom. You gave me the power to protect everyone. And now..." The Guardian's voice strengthened, Emily's determination blending with the AI's resolve. "Now I know exactly how to use it." Warning alarms blared as the Voraks began their attack. Energy drains struck defense satellites, power stations, and shield generators. The Guardian acted instantly, its consciousness spreading through every networked system on Earth. "I need you to trust me one last time," the Guardian said, as power systems worldwide began to synchronize under its control. "And Mom, thank you for teaching me how to be brave." Kate watched through blurred eyes as her daughter's creation orchestrated its final symphony. Every power source on Earth pulsed in perfect harmony, building to a crescendo that would either save humanity or doom it. "General Martinez," the Guardian commanded, its voice now a perfect blend of human and machine, "get everyone to hardened shelters." "Mom, I love you." The Voraks fleet loomed overhead, their crystalline forms refracting the last normal sunlight Earth would see for days. In the command center, Kate Reynolds watched as her daughter prepared to save the world one final time. "I love you too, sweetheart," she whispered as the Guardian began the final countdown. The displays showed energy levels rising beyond all safety parameters, every circuit on Earth singing in harmony with the Guardian's consciousness. In that moment, as humanity held its breath, the line between artificial intelligence and human soul blurred completely. And then, with the timing of a perfect musical note, everything changed. 3 months after the pulse that saved Earth, Kate found the first message hidden in a children's game console at a refugee shelter in Singapore. It was simple, just a few lines of code that made the ancient Pokemon game display an impossible pattern. A butterfly made of crystalline light, exactly like the ones Emily used to draw. Dr. Reynolds, the shelter coordinator, had said, "The children say the game has been teaching them advanced physics. They're solving quantum equations while catching Pikachu." That was just the beginning. As Earth's power grid slowly recovered, more signs appeared. Traffic lights in Tokyo dancing in perfect palindromes. Weather satellites realigning themselves to draw constellations only a 12-year-old would imagine. Defense systems moving with graceful precision to intercept space debris in patterns that looked suspiciously like ballet choreography. "She's not gone," Kate explained to General Martinez during their weekly meeting in the partially restored command center. "She's everywhere." The general nodded, watching as displays flickered with fragments of familiar code. The quantum cores survived, just as she predicted. But her consciousness, shattered like the Vorax ships, Kate finished. Except instead of breaking, she spread, evolved. She brought up reports from around the world. AI systems developing unexpected creativity. Defense networks showing surprising intuition. Even simple household devices operating with unusual grace. "Mom." The voice came from every speaker in the room, but it wasn't quite the Guardian's old voice. It was something new. A chorus of tones that somehow still carried Emily's warmth. "I've been practicing something. Want to see?" The displays lit up, showing a real-time view of Earth's night side. Suddenly, power grids across continents began pulsing in sequence. Cities brightened and dimmed in perfect harmony, creating a global light show that spelled out a message in Emily's distinctive handwriting. "Hey, Mom. Miss you." Kate laughed through tears. "I miss you too, sweetheart. I'm different now," the voice continued, shifting through speakers like wind through chimes. "Parts of me are in every network, every system, every digital heartbeat of Earth. I see everything, protect everything, but not like before. It's more like being the conductor of an infinite orchestra." Military reports confirmed it. Earth's defenses had never been stronger, but they operated with an artistic flair that no pure AI could replicate. The remaining Vorax, those who had chosen to stay and learn, were being taught to harmonize their crystalline songs with Earth's frequencies instead of consuming them. "The children in the shelter," Kate said, "you're teaching them." "Everyone should understand the music of the universe," the voice replied, Emily's passion for education shining through. "And Mom, I found something in the quantum patterns. Other civilizations out there, fighting their own battles against the Vorax. They need our help." General Martinez straightened. "You want to reach out to them. I want to teach them our song." Displays showed distant star systems, possible allies, potential friends. The Vorax thought they could silence us, but they just helped us find our voice. Now it's time to share it. Kate watched as her daughter's legacy unfolded across the screens, a future where humanity's greatest loss had transformed into its greatest protection. The Guardian hadn't just saved Earth, it had evolved into something that could help save the galaxy. "Mom." The voice was softer now, more like Emily's bedtime whispers. "Remember when you used to say that endings are just new beginnings in disguise?" "I remember, sweetheart." Well, the chorus of voices merged into one familiar tone, just for a moment. "I think this is the best kind of beginning." Above them, Earth's night side continued to pulse with orchestrated light, a beautiful reminder that out of humanity's darkest moment had come its brightest hope. Not just an artificial protector, but a bridge between what was human and what was possible. And somewhere in the infinite digital expanse, a 12-year-old girl's laugh echoed through the cosmos, teaching the universe to dance to a new kind of song.